What's up, everyone? I'm Wil Fulton. Welcome to Thrillist Best and the Rest. Today's show is all about Netflix. I'm here with senior writer Dan Jackson, entertainment editor Leanne. How do you say your last name? I've never said it out loud.
It's Butkovic.
Butkovic?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying.
Creatively, Will.
And Emma Stefansky, staff writer for Entertainment. How are you guys today?
We're good.
I'm pretty good.
We're excited to be here.
Are you?
Yeah.
I think you still, Emma, might have the record for being on the most times.
Ooh.
I might.
Other
I know
people are
my
catching up.
streak was broken.
It was.
But
Add that to your LinkedIn page.
Yeah, like a notch, like
I'll
a
add
tally
that
mark.
to my little signature underneath all my articles.
I think you should.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So a little background on Netflix. I know a lot of your day job is about Netflix, but I'm going to, for everyone at home, Netflix was founded in 1997 by Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings. They saw the success of Amazon, which originally just sold books, if you remember, before they expanded to literally everything. And they decided to take that model to another widely consumed portable item. They thought about using VHS tapes, but they considered them too bulky and too fragile to reliably ship. I think that makes sense. But the DVD had been introduced in the States earlier that year. One thing led to another, and they started a streaming business in 2010. Now it has 139 million paid subscribers, which means there's probably a few billion people leeching off of those, watching Netflix around the world.
Boyfriends and girlfriends and parents.
And
Exes, of course.
Oh.
Whoops. You owe me a Diet Coke. Do you guys remember the first time you heard of Netflix's streaming service?
Oh, God.
The streaming service.
Yeah, when it actually became a thing.
Yeah, I do, yeah. I remember being in college, and I had a roommate who was like, you're not going to believe this. Like, you can just play the movies off of your, I think it was probably like a PlayStation 2 or something. And that's probably not right. But it was some device that we had that could play it. And it was a real game changer, You were kind of just like, look at all this random crap that now I have access to. And some of it was really good back then. I mean, there were some classic movies on there, some kind of obscure stuff. And then some of it was like Super High Me with Doug Benson and like a lot of things like that.
Yes.
And it was a wide range of titles.
And that's even before they got into original content.
Yes.
Yes.
This is all just licensed stuff.
Yeah.
I have a very clear memory. I was studying abroad in France. And humble brag, guys.
Well, congrats.
But
Yeah. That's so
like,
cool.
Yeah. But I remember like a few girls on the trip were like, "Oh, it sucks we can't watch Netflix over here." And I was like, "You mean that thing that mails you DVDs? What's it?" And they were like, "No, it has a streaming thing." And I remember coming back and just get totally into it in the summer. Do you remember what shows? Was there like anything that stood out that you remember?
Are you talking before they started doing original stuff?
Yeah, like when it first,
Yeah.
in 2010 when it first came out, I was trying to think
remember
what was
watching
on
like
there.
Party Down, like Veronica Mars. A lot of those shows were all kind of available. You can look. There are like screenshots of. We've written about this on the site actually. Like there are screenshots of early Netflix streaming and what titles were available. It was like I remember the Sum of All Fears, the Ben Affleck, Tom Clancy movie being on there.
Wow.
Yeah,
They nuked Washington.
Yeah,
there,
very
right?
formative experience just watching Ben Affleck and the Sum of All Fears. I was like, this business is going to be huge. I was telling everyone after seeing the Sum of All Fears.
So early adopter.
Prescient.
But yeah, there were a lot of random titles.
Right. So you guys don't remember? It just came into your life one day?
Now that Dan mentioned Party Down, I do remember a similar college experience of going to visit my brother in Chicago, and we watched a bunch of Party Down episodes on Netflix.
I remember the real milestone for me when I became really obsessed, and the first time I really binged something was when Mad Men came out in 2011.
yeah,
I think it had
that
the
was
first
big.
4 seasons, and I watched them all straight, and I was like, this is great. This will be my life
I
now.
think that's a lot what part of how Breaking Bad really caught on was a lot of people watching it on Netflix later because they discovered it and they were like, oh, I gotta check out this show. And then by the time the finale aired, the last couple seasons, people had caught up via Netflix and were watching it live then.
Totally. So this episode is really about Netflix's original programming, and I think we made it that way because it will never go away. If someone was listening to this podcast next year or maybe 50 years from now, seeing what life was like in the year 2020, it would still be relevant. But I have to be honest with you, they put out a lot of stuff. There is a lot of content.
Oh, yes.
It's a little bit overwhelming. And that's why a lot of the show is going to be about collecting your recommendations on how to sift through all the crap to find some of those content gems. Because I don't watch a lot of these shows, and I know you do. But I have to ask a question. How much money is Netflix spending on original programming? And how much are they actually making?
A shit ton.
Yeah.
I actually looked this up before.
I did too.
So,
Yeah, same. So in 2013, that's kind of when the whole streaming original content happened. Amazon Prime had their first original content as well. But for Netflix, which is kind of like the banner for this kind of stuff, they spent $2.5 billion, and it's only gone up incrementally from there. So last year, in 2019, they spent like $15 million, and this year they're projected to spend, or $15 billion, excuse me.
Yeah.
And this year they're projected to spend $17 billion. So
That's
it's
insane.
just like building on top of year after year.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a huge like debt thing that they
Yes.
had? Like every year it was just like Netflix is in billions of dollars
Yes.
of debt because they're just spending money. They're
Yep.
not like making it back.
Yeah, another interesting thing I think that you said, Leanne, a couple days ago was they're putting a lot of more money into international projects.
Yes.
Which they haven't really before. Or have to a limited degree.
Right. It's been in the last 2 to 3 years maybe where they've made a concerted effort to expand globally, like on a
that
major
Brazilian
level.
Show, 3%,
Yeah.
so like South
Yeah.
American shows. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's part of like an overall strategy, like you were kind of
Yeah.
saying, of most Americans who are curious about Netflix have heard about it and bought it. So their goal is always just to grow that subscriber base, and that's like a big priority for the company. So it's like that's part of why they're like, well, we need to find more subscribers, so we need to grow this business, and so hopefully globally everyone will be on Netflix. I mean, I don't know how you grow it once you conquer the earth, Then that's the real question. is, like,
Everyone can always
Interstellar.
consume more
that's true.
content.
Yeah.
like that, and that's the real question I think in the future is like how will there be like there will be some sort of retraction that happens because you can't keep spending this much money on shows that some of which very few people watch presumably.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Netflix recession. That makes me sad. This bubble will pop.
It's got a lot of competitors now.
It does. More every year.
But anyway, I plan to be hungover this weekend, so I want to get some feedback on the shows that I should watch under some genres that I kind of just made up. First up, something that will make me laugh. Comedy. I feel like out of any genre, personally, I think that Netflix has. I don't think that there is a transcendent Netflix show that's like this is a great show and you have to buy Netflix to watch this show. But I think they do best. They do their best with comedy. Some things I do like. I think you should leave. The bones are their money. Also their dollars.
Are their money.
I was hesitant to watch Big Mouth, but I watched it and I enjoy it. It's not like my favorite thing ever, but I do. And I love BoJack Horseman, but I feel like it wasn't very funny towards the end.
Yeah.
It was more depressing than funny. So that being said, do you guys have picks about what I or the viewers or listeners should be watching in that genre?
You stole mine. I was gonna say I think you
know.
should leave.
I think
sorry.
we probably all were going to say. I think you should leave.
Shit.
No, it's fine. I mean, I do think I agree. Netflix has made a lot of comedy stuff. I think You Should Leave is the funniest one that and I mean, at least in like recent years. I mean, for people who don't know, it's like this show from this guy, Tim Robinson, who was a writer on SNL and was briefly a cast member on SNL. So he's kind of in that sort of like comedy orbit. He also was on a show called Detroiters that was on Comedy Central.
Also very funny.
Yeah, and he basically got this sketch show from Netflix. I think it's only 7 episodes, and like they're very quick.
They are.
And they move really fast. The sketches are very short. If you like, Tim and Eric, if you like Mr. Show, or any of those kind of like, bizarre sketch comedy things, this is very much in that tradition, and it has a lot of great guests like Vanessa Bayer and Connor O'Malley and people like that, and it's just really funny. I don't know, it's just like consistently makes you laugh, and that's all you need from a comedy, right?
Yeah.
Nothing like a comedy when you want to have some laughs.
Yeah, I mean, it is just funny, and that I think that is the thing that like a lot of people when they talk about comedies now in like the streaming era or whatever, it's like sometimes like, well, is this actually a comedy or is this like one of those dramas that's just kind of short and like has a few clever lines and stuff? And it's like, I Think You Should Leave. It's like, it is just comedy. Like it is very just like, we are going to try to do the dumbest, like funniest thing in every scene, and they do a really good job of it.
The one that I think about the most right now, like, and it comes in waves, is like sometimes I think about one a lot and then like the next week I'll think about something else. But I think about the one where the guy gets owned by the magician at the magic show. And his wife is so mad at him that he just sat there. And it's Cecily Strong. And like they don't like talk, and they're like together at night in bed, and she's just like curled over on the side, and it's just like, why the fuck didn't you say anything? It's so funny.
I think about that too.
The Kate Berlant Garfield house. I love Patty Henderson.
Yeah.
Christmas Came Early this year.
Oh, that one is so funny. And that
The
actually
Baby
introduced me
of
to her.
the Year. I'm sorry, Baby of the Year.
We could go forever. We should
Anyway,
probably
sorry, yeah.
Leanne, do you have anything else?
I don't know if people liked Children's Hospital, but in the same vein of that, like absurdist comedy, there's the long-awaited spin-off of that, which is Medical Police. I think you were saying that you watched this, Emma.
It's very funny.
It's very funny. It's basically Rob Hubel's character and Aaron Hayes' character like on this global journey to stop a virus.
They're doctors and cops.
They're doctors and cops.
Wow.
Medical police.
Okay.
But yeah, you get cameos from all the Children's Hospital rags in there.
What is Children's Hospital? I don't know.
So this was, I believe it started as an online short that eventually migrated to the big screen, the silver screen. And it's just like this absurd short show where...
It's on Adult Swim.
In Adult Swim, yeah.
The big screen, the silver screen of
Adult Swim.
Well, people have very large TVs
of late night TV.
That's true.
Yeah. Where it's
home
just,
theater experience.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a bunch of doctors like doing a bad job in a kid's hospital.
Oh, that's funny. What do you
I've
think?
got a few. In the vein of I Think You Should Leave, I think Netflix does a good job with like sketch comedy shows. They kind of give their people that they hire on like space to just do whatever they want. Dan mentioned Mr. Show. Netflix revived Mr. Show, sort of, sort of. A few years ago, it was like one of the first like original comedy things that they did, and it's just with Bob and David. It's Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, and they're just doing like weird sketch stuff. Like it's similar to I Think You Should Leave. And also the characters, which is another thing that Tim Robinson is on. Every episode is done like written, I think, and acted in by one like comedy person. Like John Early has an episode, Tim Robinson has an episode, like tons of people. And the episode is, it's all like sort of one narrative, but then it like knits together different sort of sketch characters that these people play. So they play like multiple people in the whole thing. It's great to watch. It's very fun, and you can watch it over and over again. And then my last thing that I want to mention is American Vandal.
Yes,
which
of
is
course.
The best thing Netflix has ever done.
Right. You firmly believe that?
I mean, there are other things that I like on the streaming platform, but I love this show.
For people who don't know, what is American Vandal
American Vandal is a parody, like true crime docu-series that's like ostensibly produced by these students at this school. The first season follows a boy who may or may not have done the dicks. Spray painted dicks onto every single car in the school parking lot for like whatever reason, and it's very
like Making a Murderer, like riff on that.
Exactly.
I remember watching that show, and at first I watched it because the premise sounded hilarious to me. But by the time I finished, I was like, I just wanted to find out who did it. It turned into just that. It's just very well done, and it's a great slow burn.
And the final episode is like really affecting too.
It is.
Like it really gets you. It's one of those comedies that like turns into not a comedy.
Exactly. Okay, cool. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some more categories. So if I want to watch something when I'm kind of falling asleep, maybe I'm drunk, but something just kind of get my mind off the hard work that we do during the day and sometimes at night. At Thrillist.com. I feel like a lot of people use The Office for that. It kind of became de facto, just put on The Office when you get home. I watched something very mindless the other week, Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh my God.
You think that's mindless?
I did. Well, I didn't really, I thought it was kind of stupid, to be honest. Just the way they tried to paint that larger commentary, I thought was kind of dumb. And it was 3 episodes, like 3 hours long. It could have been like 45 minutes. There was that whole thing. So Don't Fuck with Cats is about this internet group that saw this video of someone mutilating a cat, and then they kind of went on this internet, not a witch hunt because this guy's actually awful, to try to find the culprits, and eventually the police got involved, and it turned into someone actually was murdered on camera. I don't want to give too much away because that's part of the show, but yeah, it was just kind of stupid. Like they had the whole thing, like these people in the Facebook group were like, and in the video we saw a pack of cigarettes and zoomed in on the cigarettes, and I said, that's weird. It's a Marlboro. Now, what country is that? It is like, obviously, it's a pack of Marlboros. And and then I saw some writing, so I zoomed in further, and it says Surgeon General's warning. What countries have Surgeon Generals? Then it hit me, America, and that's like kind of that's like the whole show.
Well, I think this problem too points to something that a lot of people have problems with when it comes to Netflix original content, which now has its own term, which is Netflix bloat. So things that are like 10 episodes that could be 4 episodes or like a 90-minute documentary or something. shows that are an hour, 45 minutes to an hour long that only really need to be like 20, 30-minute episodes.
Right.
So a lot of the time there's people find all of these shows to be quite overdone.
It's like overextended.
Yeah.
Which is really the opposite of what I think you should leave is because it's very, you want way more.
That's why it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
You're just like, bam, 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 ha, ha, ha.
Exactly. That was a tangent, sorry. Dan, mindless Netflix shows that are actually okay to watch.
So I also kind of went, I would say, the counterintuitive path in thinking about this because I also I don't tend to fall asleep that much watching things, especially if you watch. I don't like watching things that are narrative shows that you are going to miss parts of the plot and then have to readjust.
These are the shows you won't care if you miss part of them.
Yeah. So my thinking around this was I was like the series Dirty Money is actually very good in this sense because it's it's a good show, but it's very authoritative kind of documentary. They're each one episode is about a different topic, and some of them vary in quality. Some of them are very good. They're often about corruption and sort of just how people who have a lot of money are keeping that money and sort of manipulating financial markets and things.
That's what you watch when you're
I know because I was thinking about this question seriously in my own experience, and I remembered at some point. Again, early days of Netflix streaming in college, I would often come home and fall asleep watching that Enron documentary. And it was just it was there's something about when you come back after a night out and you're like, you know what, I want to watch something that has information, but that's also sort of soothing. And it's I think a lot of people use podcasts in the same way.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it would provoke an emotional reaction because I was watching this Enron thing. I'd be, these fucking dudes, they should all go to jail. And I would get really mad, but then I would just fall asleep, and
forget about it.
And I had seen it before, and it was directed by this guy, Alex Gibney, who makes a ton of documentaries. It's not The Office, but
no, I'm kind of with you, Dan. I was thinking about this too, and I'm like, you know what? In that moment when I am wasted, I want something that's
kind
of.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's an imitation of myself. I want something that's going to be kind of provoking me, but also somewhat unintelligible because I'm not paying attention enough to keep track of what's really going on. So honestly, Dirty Money is a good one, I think. In the same vein, but towards food is Rotten, which is about corruption, but about specifically how they're jacking up egg prices and chickens are all
love that show, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
But something that I would absolutely watch in the late at night just to put something on and get mad.
It's about the dirty side of food.
Yeah.
Really.
And then there's also the alternative where it's Planet Earth, our planet,
Soothing.
which is just so mind balmy.
Right.
That I'll watch it anytime, but especially at night when you just want to flick your brain off and watch creatures move gracefully underwater.
Exactly. Yeah. Emma, what do you think?
I'm also in the Planet Earth docuseries, animal docuseries camp, because you don't have to follow any one thing. You can go wash your dishes and come back, and it'll be a different animal doing something new, and you'll be like, "Whoa, okay, I'll sit down here for a sec and watch it." I have a cat, and he loves those shows. I've seen every John Mulaney comedy special many times.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the kind of thing where I'll turn my TV on and not know what I want to watch, and my hand will just sort of go over to Netflix and then find search JOH and there he is, and whichever. I think he has 3 on there right now. Two
one
of
with
them
the kids is really funny.
Oh yeah, the Sack Lunch Bunch.
Bunch.
That's really good, really funny. So his stuff is I'll just turn it on and say whatever punchline as he's saying it because I've watched them so many times. But the Netflix comedy specials in particular, I think are some that you can just sort of turn on and mindlessly be
I agree.
Oh,
it's
okay.
very background fodder.
Yes.
Are there ones that stand out to you?
I just want them to bring back the Enron documentary. I've been sending letters to Ted Sarandos.
Zodiac.
You're the weird Enron guy.
Weird Enron guy.
Bring back Enron. Make Enron into a 12-hour series, please.
You want more bloat from the Enron.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's let's go back to old documentaries and bloat them up with additional episodes so I can kind of just
more Ponzi scheme content.
Yeah. So I want to talk about food and travel shows because, that's something we cover at Thrillist, along with entertainment. 2 that really stick out to me is street food, made by the same people who made Chef's Table, but with literal street food. And I find it way more interesting than actual Chef's Table because they're going to countries all over the world, profiling their actual street food, and it's just shot really, really well. It's shot like a Chef's Table. The other one is called Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories. Have you guys ever watched that?
Yeah, dude.
It is so good. It's it takes place in a 12-seat izakaya restaurant in Shinjuku, Tokyo. That's only open from midnight to 7 a.m. and it's focused on the customers that come in. It's kind of like a small, intimate show, but it's really great. Yeah, that's what it's about, right?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
that's really. You gotta experience the late night izakaya vibe.
Yeah, it sounds boring. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. It's endearing.
Similarly, there's another Japanese show called Kentaro the Sweet-Toothed Salaryman, and it's just him going around to like different sweet shops and having like a reaction to eating this delicious sweet
I know
food.
exactly what you're talking
and
about.
Yeah, and he's like making up excuses to like have a detour on like his publishing day job so he can go eat candy.
It's very like hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is. It's wild. Dan, food and travel. When you're not watching or thinking about Enron.
Yeah, when I want to take a break from constantly thinking about Enron, I try to think about Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat.
Yes.
I think that
Great show.
As someone who is like doesn't necessarily watch a lot of like food shows, like besides like I went through a Top Chef phase for a while, but that was like a long time ago. I haven't really kept up on it, but Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat really hit that kind of nice spot where, again, like I Think You Should Leave, it's a short episode count. It has, the host kind of takes you through each of these concepts: salt, fat, acid, heat. There's one episode on each topic, and it's just a really like elegant kind of blend of history and sort of like personal stuff and reported kind of research, interviews with different people in different regions. And I don't know, it's really well done. It's not like a lot of those shows can feel kind of either
preachy,
corny, or sort of just like, oh, we're giving you the surface level read on something that's really complicated. I feel like she like kind of does a great job of nailing all the nuances of cooking and culture and how those things kind of all interplay. And it's great. I mean, that's a fantastic show.
I like these. So one that I think is very fun, that is like competition based, nailed it. It's very like everyday person kind of show. So Nicole Byer and Jack Torres have this like essentially cake making show, but for very mediocre bakers.
Right.
So like they always turn out like shit. I have never seen.
Is it like Pinterest project?
Like the real life.
Exactly.
Like
so
making
like
these complex things. That the pictures look really good.
Yeah.
And
So they'll have this like huge tiered cake or something that they bring out in the beginning, and they're like, "You're gonna replicate this," and then it just looks like a mountain of shit.
Is it mean?
No. It's in very like good spirits.
Yeah. Like they know they're bad, and they don't. Okay.
They are not under any like ideas in their mind that they're actually good at this. Like even on their audition tapes, which like they'll show clips of in between moments where they're cooking and baking. It's just people f***ing up. And what I think is nice too is like they give them instructions, like exactly how to do things. So it's like the margin of error is smaller than if you were going on like fucking Cupcake Wars or something.
Yes, where the margin of error is very high.
Yes.
Very high stakes in the Cupcake Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here, like you can like still mess up because you don't like add a leavening agent or something like that.
That's nice.
So I think it's really fun. It's very funny. Nicole and Jacques have this like very funny rapport with each other. There's a funny bit about this long-haired PA named Wes.
Yeah.
Nicole's always like, Wes, where's the trophy, Wes? Which I get a little kick out of.
Yeah, you could have put that in that first category, honestly.
Yeah, true.
That actually could easily go in something that you kind of watch to decompress, because
Totally.
it's just so sweet, it's so low stakes, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Emma, food and travel?
Well, I have one show that I've actually written about before for Thrillist.com.
Oh, okay, right.
Where else?
Yeah.
And it's sort of a food show. It's more of like a crafting show, honestly. And I think you know what I'm going to say.
I do. I'm very excited.
It's called The Curious Creations of Christine McConnell. It's this it's one season. It got canceled because I guess no one watched it.
So sad.
Yeah.
Idiots. Didn't watch the show.
Fucking morons.
Well, what were they missing?
So much.
Goth homemaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This woman is this Instagram personality, influencer person who makes all of her own clothes and has this very 1950s sort of Tim Burton-y aesthetic. And she has gajillions of followers or whatever. And she was contacted, I guess she or was pitched or whatever for Netflix for this show wherein she makes the stuff that she takes pictures of and posts on the internet, and you see it all happen. And she has this whole kind of a narrative arc with like a bunch of puppets. They're
Puppet
like
animals.
little animals and like
more of the animals.
Right.
Talking.
See, you're running theme.
talking animals.
It seems very quirky.
It's very quirky.
Well, it
like
is so quirky.
Oh, I believe you when you say that.
But she's so like charming and she's so much fun, and the stuff that she makes is like very like, and the whole joke of the series is that she makes these like extremely complicated things.
So you're not learning a lot.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's just, you're just watching her make stuff, which is what I love to do. Like I'll go on
Yes.
YouTube and just be like, I think like Adam Savage has that show where he like, he'll make just things for people and he like tries it out. But this is like very much like that. It's just sort of watching someone like do weird shit with like
Cool.
Yes,
food.
I love to watch her make chocolate gothic castles
Yes.
and like staple fucking couches.
It's
Make new
incredible.
backings.
What's weird is like I've never even seen this show come up. Like,
It's
if I see- you know, that's,
barely advertised.
Yeah.
I think they did like, it came out around Halloween
Yeah.
2 years ago.
I think it was 2018.
Well, that's
yeah.
I mean, I think that speaks to the way the shows can kind of just fall through
Right,
the cracks.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
because we hear about the big, the Stranger Things,
Right.
the House of Cards, but like there are so many shows now that unless it kind of either has a big promotional rollout with like a big star or it kind of like catches a wave of like social media enthusiasm and reviews and everything, like some of the stuff can just disappear and people will describe it to you and you are like, do you live in another universe?
Yeah.
like, are you paying for some other like goth Netflix that I don't have access to?
Great idea, though.
Netflix.
I would
Yeah.
love
Netflix
goth
Dark, love it.
Netflix. That would be so good.
Okay. Something that's bad, but so bad, it's actually good, or at least fun to watch. I think that we have to talk about The Circle. It's definitely of the moment.
Hell
I, in doing some light research for the show, I put on like episode 5 of The Circle. I was like, I don't know what this show's about. I just want to
Already
watch it.
episode 5.
Well, no,
jumping
I dove
in.
right in.
No, I dove right in there because I
Spoilers.
just wanted to get a taste of what it was like, and
Oh
I'm
my
What
seriously.
makes you
God.
do that? That's so
I'm
chaotic.
this wasn't the
so
point
bad.
Was it
of
the
my
middle
story.
of the
Episodes are
episode?
lined up in a proper order for you on the menu, and you're just like Russian roulette, baby. Like I gotta.
I'll tell you why. Because I didn't plan. I planned on watching like 10 minutes of it just to see what it's about, but I ended up watching it for like 3 hours.
Exactly.
It's so fucking good.
It's so good. It's just, and I don't watch almost.
Dana's face is disagreeing right now.
Are you just still mad that I jumped to episode 5? Or do you not like The Circle?
This is just my face. I'm just mad. all the time. No,
Now people can see it.
No, I haven't. I honestly, I haven't watched The Circle, and I've heard so many good things. I'm nervous that if I watched it, I would
It won't,
dislike it,
yeah.
and then I would have to argue with people I know, and
That's a great
have told
method.
me it's good.
I don't know
so.
if it's a Dan show.
I hesitate to actually recommend it to
Is
you.
that,
I'm
is that
sorry.
Dan Core?
It's not Dan
It's
Cole.
not Dancor.
However, it is Emma and Leanne Cole.
I don't. It's like every other reality show, but like the games are stripped away and you only have the backstabbing and the positioning.
Yeah, so I feel like we need to explain what the hell the circle
I
is
would love
to
if you
begin
did
with.
because like I tried to a few times.
So
Where to start?
It's these people living in isolation.
Yes, kind of like Old Boy. It reminded me of that.
Oh, yeah,
They're like
sure.
stuck in their hotel.
It's just like Old Boy.
It is
Well, the first part.
exactly
Old Boy the series.
Bloat it.
and they can't interface with each other. Well, the only way that they can interface with each other is through this invented social media app called The Circle, which
Right.
is a hybrid of like
Facebook,
Facebook,
Instagram.
AOL Instant Messenger,
Little touch of LinkedIn.
yeah, where it's like this very highly curated version of yourself on this profile that's presented to the other contestants, and so you can like play as yourself,
Yeah.
which many people do. But then you could also play as a catfish,
That's
which
the twist.
people also do.
Yes.
No
So
one
there's-
can ever see like your actual face.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're never talking with your voice or like through video. It's all through
This
chat.
voice chat, you're going like circle.
You have to say
Send
it.
Emma
Yes.
a message. Emma, hey Emma, what's up? Smiley face, winky face,
Emoji.
heart,
And they say
heart,
emoji.
Yeah.
Send.
Yeah.
And yeah, then people get so the way that like somebody wins the circle is that they all like rank each other. And so there's this like inevitable tally that comes up of like the people at the top and the people at the bottom. And it tends to be the two people at the top become influencers
Yes,
and get like
they
a
get a
little
check
blue
mark.
tick,
Yep.
just like Twitter. And then they deliberate on who they want to get rid of or who they want to save.
Yeah. The two influencers essentially get to pick who gets voted off the island in this case. It's this
Yes.
weird
Yes.
hotel. Yeah.
So it's like Survivor, but
But
social
Big Brother,
media driven.
But there's
It's
just like
all
there's
kinds of
nothing.
Love Island-y, honestly, a little bit.
Yeah. But there's
The aesthetic is very Love
Yes.
Island. Everything is just aggressively colorful.
Yeah.
They
And
all
no
live in
taste at all.
Oh my god, like awful, like very Instagrammable,
Yeah.
like
Big
apartments
plants all over the place.
Oh my god, yeah.
Emma, which is the guy that you like on the show?
Joey Sasso.
Oh, he's so
Joey!
good.
We love
He's my
Joey.
favorite. He's like every kid I grew up with in New Jersey, honestly, who loves his mom.
I love my ma.
You just hate him at first. But
I'm
then you're
doing
like,
a
this guy-
face
I loved
mask.
him. I loved him immediately.
I love Joey.
He's so good. He's so funny.
He is good.
He's very much like the kind of guy who you think is going to be like a total dickhead.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And then he consistently like is liked by everyone.
And
Yes.
he's so sweet.
Yeah. He's just a very
The thing, my favorite moment of Joey in the show too is, I'll never get this out of my head, but they do have a challenge in here where they have to like replicate a cake. Nailed it, right? They literally call it like
I didn't
nailed
get to
it.
that
A
part
little
yet.
tie-in.
I can't
have
wait
little
for that.
events.
Yeah, I won't say who wins. Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
please
But
don't.
Joey is frosting this cake with his bare hands and is like wiping the top and sides of the cake with his hands and like
Do
petting
they not
the
have
cake.
utensils?
Oh,
in the
no, they
circle?
do.
No. Well, they eat and cook so
Yeah.
much. That's like half of the show.
Half the
They're
show is
eating
them like
a lot,
cooking and reading.
Yeah.
But no, he's just like doing his own style, doing a Joey style.
After it's over, you see that shot of him. You're like, oh, I gotta clean up, and there's like icing on the floor. It's just
Like,
a
how did you
complete.
do this?
It's terrible. Oh god. But what's the coolest thing for me about this show is that they're all sort of like deciding how it works. Themselves.
Right.
Because like. When I was watching it and like telling friends about it, people kind of, oh, like how do they win? I'm like, well, I actually don't really know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Is there an end?
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody is
Or does it
crowned
just
the
keep
winner.
Going in perpetuity? Because they once someone
I mean,
gets
I wish.
once someone gets blocked, as they call it,
Yes.
voted out. Another person or sometimes two people come to take their place, and
Yeah.
the circle gets bigger.
They introduce themselves, and sometimes they're who they say they are, and sometimes they're not. But
Yeah.
everyone always has to be very suspicious, which sometimes gets sad because sometimes like people want to make friends, and then other people are
Yeah.
like, "She's coming on too strong. I think
Yeah.
she's not who she says she is." Circle Enron would be good, like a season of the
Having
Circle.
all of them in there.
Yeah.
Prison.
Just taking two words.
That's
Yeah,
what
they're
we're
in
gonna do.
I think a lot of them are out now, actually, unfortunately.
Stick them back in.
Yeah.
Dan, you're something that's so bad, but it's actually good. It's obviously not the circle.
Yeah, I struggle with this category. I don't want to push back too hard, but like I'm
You
We'll
can.
only watch
Fair
good.
enough.
yeah,
things,
I
right?
mean, yeah.
Dan's
like-
taste is impeccable.
Yeah.
No, it's more just like TV
mean,
shows
yeah.
are so long,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always kind of like confused when people are like, "Oh, I watched this awful show. I watched all 8 seasons of it." I'm like,
And I hated every
yeah,
second
no,
of it.
It made me so freaking mad. I'm always like, why? Like, why did you do that to yourself? Like, it's like if most things are bad, I'm like, I'm gonna bail. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna watch it. There's literally like 100 other things you could watch.
Yes.
That, like all the people in my life have been telling me I should watch. So the idea that I'm just gonna like torture myself. That being said, the one thing that I would say like I would kind of put in this category maybe is this is really embarrassing. It would be The Ranch, the show.
Oh man.
The show with Ashton Kutcher. Because I've watched a lot of it, and I would say
Okay.
it's
It's a
good,
sitcom,
but I would say
so
it's
throw
pretty
it out
good. Yeah, I mean the thing with The Ranch is that it's like a very traditional kind of. Which again, Netflix has done a few of these sort of like multicam sitcoms with like
Sure.
laugh tracks, One Day at a Time. Right, that was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a really good show. The Ranch is kind of like this thing that you start watching because you're like, what is
What is
this?
it about?
It's Ashton Kutcher, and he lives on a ranch.
With
and-
some of his That 70s Show friends, right?
Yes, well, not anymore, but yes.
Okay.
And Sam Elliott is on it. Deborah Winger is on it, and like Sam Elliott is really funny and good on it. Like the acting is actually very good. It's also a weird mix because it's like very traditional sitcom beats, but with like the language that you can use on Netflix. So it's like a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not quite like watching a CBS sitcom or something where it's still like has all these kind of like network TV rules. But like,
Would you say it breaks the rules?
On
the Ranch?
The Ranch is the most rule-breaking sitcom. No, I mean, it's not a great show, and they've made multiple seasons of it, and I have not watched all of them.
Right.
But it surprised me. I think I had to write about it.
I was going to say,
work.
what drew you to the ranch initially?
That's what drew me to it, was that I was assigned to write about it, and I actually found myself enjoying it much more than I thought I would.
Leanne, do you have something that's bad, but so bad it's actually good besides the circle? Are you a ranch head?
No, I'm not a ranch head.
Okay.
But I feel, there's two, but I feel that I have in mind. But there's one that has become sort of like the pinnacle, so bad it's good, which is You.
I love this.
Yeah, I actually don't know almost anything about that show.
So it was a Lifetime show that aired at the very end of 2019, and nobody watched it. Very, very few people watched it. So they canceled the show, dumped for the first season on Netflix, and then it just like instantly blew up because people were like, what the hell is this show? It's about Penn Badgley named Joe, who's like this creepy bookstore guy who like kills people. Oh. He's a stalker.
He's like an obsessive guy who like becomes obsessed with this woman, and like it's clear that he's done this very thing in the past, and it has not worked out very well for him. But he also has these like very controlling tendencies, which drive him to murder people. Eventually.
So that is to say, Netflix picked it up for a second season. And it's now out there, and it I gotta say, it delivers. Also, it's just like, because he is like a books guy. He's like, I read a lot of books. It's like stuffed with all of these very like on the nose literary references.
What is he into?
And super like specific film references too.
Yes.
And especially in this like they
Amy
say
Adam.
the weirdest shit.
The dialogue is nonsensical in many ways.
So why do you like it though?
Oh God.
No, that's serious. I mean, that's
just
it's because it's so silly and so heightened.
Yeah.
I think is just like it makes what would otherwise be like a very tough show for me to watch. Like I don't want to watch a woman get stalked and then maybe murdered. But like this, the fact that it's such a melodrama and it's so like self-referential, like it knows that it sucks. Yeah. Like it is fully aware, like it's not taking itself at all seriously.
Emma, do you have something besides You in the circle?
Notes. Do I have something besides You? Thrillist especially, I feel our team has gone on the record as like being very supportive of the OA.
What is that about?
Save the OA.
Hashtag Save the OA.
Yeah.
It is this show.
Wait, no. OA, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the OA is a good show.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying okay, but here's why I'm saying this. Okay. It's because the first season sucks.
Speak.
The first season's terrible, but the second season is very, very good. This is why I'm putting it in this category. Are you going to allow it?
I mean, you can nominate whatever thing. I only watched the first season actually, which is embarrassing for me. And I liked the first season.
Dan.
So I've never understood the kind of. I mean, I understand in the abstract sense why people thought the show was ridiculous or maybe not so great.
What is the show about?
Okay.
So the show is about. Okay. The show is about. It's created by Britt Marling, who's this like this woman who has made a lot of these like weird like genre sort of sci-fi projects, and Zal Badmangli, I think is how you say his last name, who has some connection to Vampire Weekend. His like brother.
Is he a fan?
Rostam is his brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
He does the music for the OA as well, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're a Netflix band, you know? Ezra has
Neo
show.
Yokio.
That's true.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, back to me.
Yeah.
And basically the first season charts this like Britt is like she's the star of the show as well, and she plays this character called Prairie who returned to her parents after being missing for a long time, and she was like blind before that, but now she can see, and it like goes back. She meets this like group of this boys and like one woman, and she like explains this like story of her past to them, and like the whole first season is about them sort of like deciding whether or not to believe whether or not she's telling them the truth, which is something that really irked me. But the second season sort of like takes all of that and is like, yeah, this truly happened. But it's very like metaphysical, and it's very like it deals with multiple worlds, and basically she was like kidnapped by this evil guy who's like trying to use her and people like her to like travel between like dimensions and stuff. It's very cool. The second season has like a giant talking octopus.
I like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All night was
Sounds
fun.
bewildering.
It's really weird. But I genuinely think the second season is like beautiful and amazing.
Okay, so then to Dan's point, you just think season one is bad.
I think it's bad. And it's weirdly like it kind of had to be the way that it is in order for the second season to work.
Okay.
I was really surprised that I liked the second season as much as I did, which made the eventual cancellation all the more crushing.
That's why
like,
you're saying
now
save
she's
the OA.
finally doing something.
Well,
yeah.
there's a huge. Well, I don't want to like overstate this. That's maybe hyperbole, but there is a campaign to save the OA after they canceled it, and there's this whole conspiracy of like, is this actually part of the show that they're canceling the OA to bring it
real
back?
weird.
It gets real deep,
Yeah.
and so like, there's actually a fan-made movie that's about this.
Okay.
So that's
a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot to take in. So last category. Is
Oh wait, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
I
Go.
do have one that Dan will not argue with me about because it is so bad that it's good,
Okay.
and it's called The Witcher.
Yes, baby!
Okay. So this is based on a video game that was based on a book?
It's based on a book series that the video game is based on, but the show is based on the books, not the video game.
Okay.
The first book specifically, which is a series of short stories.
Yes.
Okay.
Except for the fact that Henry Cavill, who plays the titular Witcher, does like the voice from the games, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I guess, for the fans.
And what is
really
it?
that. The Witcher is what is The Witcher?
So he's a man. Well, no, he's not a man. That's the thing. He's a witcher.
I'm already intrigued.
He's a magic man who got turned into a witcher who like they're very tough and like
they kill
hard
monsters.
to beat. They got to kill monsters, and he.
That's what a Witcher does.
Yeah, he's
Got
been
it.
like this. He's looked the same, like purple eyes and white hair and shit for
Very
like
cool.
100 years or something.
Very
Just-
buff.
Yeah, super buff. He's
Yeah.
so buff.
You see him taking baths a lot.
He takes a lot of baths. But the thing that I love most about this show maybe is, well, one, it's very fun. But two, I think what makes it fun is these like very video gamey type elements that make it into like the filmmaking of it. So like there's a scene in which one of the main characters like turns into a magician witch lady, and she's going to take over the world. She wants to be the most powerful magestress.
Yeah.
And there is essentially like a character scene selection that rolls out behind her of like, here are all these outfits that you can pick from that you want to look. Or like there's something in the church, like that happens in a church where Henry Cavill, the Witcher, has to go kill this beast so like he can retrieve this like young princess. And just the way that it's shot is like third person, like low angle behind him where you can like see the whole landscape, which is like literally a shot from the video game
And you're
itself.
a gamer, Leanne.
I like games, yeah.
Did you play The Witcher?
Yeah, I've played some of it. I'm not like as huge a Witcher head as some people are.
Yeah.
Like the thing I do like to.
It's a
play
celebrated
video
video game.
It
if I'm
very.
Yeah.
Witcher 3 is like one of the top tier games.
My friend
known
was
to
telling
be.
me about, I've never played, and he was like, it's the kind of thing that like should not be good, and yet it
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah,
How
but
much like this show in the category?
yes, Witcher
Kaboom.
games 1 and 2 apparently not very good.
Okay.
But that said, if you do know the games, the show technically takes place before the series of the games.
It also like has 3 different timelines.
Yes.
Which really messes people up. But eventually, they all come together, and he meets his friends.
Well,
and-
it
His
seems-
destiny.
It seems like you really like this, then why do you consider it to be bad?
because
remotely?
it's also a very, like you, not
very
you, but
silly.
you, the show.
I was getting ready for something.
Yeah.
It
Like you
sucks.
will, it's very silly and it's garbage.
and it's so
And it's garbage,
bad.
but we could tolerate it for an hour or so once a week.
It feels like and honestly, I wouldn't even say that this is necessarily bad. It's just interesting in the context of like, it feels like a sort of Xena warrior princess type show where
Yes.
like it's
Okay.
very
Yes.
fun.
Like a Hercules Xena
Yeah, like
double.
the point
double
of the
feature.
show is to have a nice time, whereas like we're post Game of Thrones right now. Like we're in this sort of high fantasy realm of like high fantasy is about like how much it sucked to live in the Middle Ages and how women get like raped all the time and shit, and that doesn't happen in the show in The Witcher,
Oh.
which
In fact,
is great.
Geralt, that's his name, Geralt of Rivia, is a great respecter of women.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
He
Love it.
every chance that he gets, he stands up for women.
He will talk to them. He will fight them.
Yes.
He will.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Chivalry still alive in The Witcher. The
Yeah.
Witcher.
Loves women.
Witcher.
But you never have this like sense of like dread, like, oh God, what horrible thing is going to happen
Right.
to these
Yeah.
people, because it's not about that.
So, last category. This is something that's actually good. Something that you like. And this is kind of a backhand way just to talk about like your actual favorite shows. On Netflix, I think I said again, the only show that I'm like, I'm glad that Netflix exists and made this is probably BoJack Horseman for me. Watched final season, loved it, felt a little rushed, but that's okay. I think they did a great job. Dan, what is your actually good Netflix show. It's actually good.
And it's not the Enron documentary. You can't say that.
Yeah, you said that way too many times.
Yeah. Besides that, the most actually good Netflix show to me would be Mindhunter, which is my favorite, I would say. I mean, it's for people who don't know, Mindhunter is this show about basically like the early days of the FBI's profiling program that was sort of created to sort of create these psychological profiles of serial killers. So the show is about these two agents, one of whom kind of has a more like academic bent, one of them has more of a kind of like tough guy FBI agent bent. Yeah. And the two of them go and interview different killers, famous, like, Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. And so the show has these long interviews, and then there's also like kind of cases that they're working on and solving throughout the course of a season. It's directed by David Fincher. A lot of the episodes, not all of them, but it's directed and executive produced by David Fincher. So
it very much looks like a Fincher film.
Yeah, it has, if you like Zodiac or like his movies like that, it has that same.
If you like Benjamin Button.
You love Benjamin Button, give Mindhunter a shot. No, it's just really, it's incredibly well made, and it's really engrossing. The writing's really smart, and I don't know, it's just very thoughtful about like the history of that era and the history of that kind of form of crime fighting, I guess. But it's also like a lot of it is about how it's not terribly effective either, which is interesting because you sort of realize like they build these profiles and they're really studious about it, and then like they quickly fall apart. And in some ways, it's like a criticism of that type of work. And I don't know. It's really smart, and the actors are great, and it looks cool, and it's intense, and it's kind of scary. And I think like when you think about Netflix's attempts to make like big prestige shows and stuff, like a lot of them in retrospect, like I don't know, like House of Cards or like Bloodline or something.
Orange is the New Black.
I like Orange is the New Black. I think that one was really good. But some of the other ones, like it's like they kind of just didn't really sustain a level of like quality at a certain point. And Mindhunter only has 2 seasons, and there's a possibility they might not get a 3rd season.
And that's what I've said.
Yeah, but I hope they do, because honestly, I think it's like probably the best thing that Netflix has funded. So maybe they'll make more in the future. I hope
they do.
It'd be nice.
Leanne, what's your actually good show?
I don't know. I'll run through a quick list. So there's like cheerleading squad. That just,
you know what? I watched that recently.
Phenomenon.
It's
very
good.
Touching.
It's very good.
I cried at the end.
Yeah.
That just like build up of like teens sportsmanship and like building to this like very intense singular moment.
Cheerleading reality show, basically.
Yes, thank you. The Staircase was an old, actually true crime series that Netflix kind of recut a few episodes of and added into.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, there's like some new footage that they stuck with the story. So it's just like this very insane timeline of like this crime author who's accused of killing his wife, and it like runs through the whole trial. And it's kind of one of the high points of true crime series, because it's like they just do a really good job with the details in the background, and there's just like so many crazy beats.
Unlike Don't Fuck with Cats.
Yes, right.
I saw a drawer, so I looked in the drawer.
That's details and that's background. What are you talking about?
Okay.
So I like that a lot. I think people should watch that. One that's from a few years ago that I think people have kind of like forgotten about is Lady Dynamite, which is Maria Bamford's
That show is hilarious. I
was really sad. It was another 2-season show, but I love that show a lot. Just like, she's very open about mental health and her issues.
How would you describe that show? Like an elevator
It's
pitch?
kind of like fever dream. Well, also at the same time,
it's a lot like another sort of sketch comedy thing.
Yeah, kind of. It has like
they sort
these
of let them run wild. Yeah.
Yep. But it's all it's very like, this is the head of Maria Bamford. Like, this is what she comes up with, which is both like great and hilarious and honest and like kind of heartbreaking at the same time, because like mental illness is a huge problem.
There are some very poignant moments in that show.
Yes, I agree. So there's another reality show that I really, really, really love. There's 4 seasons of it on Netflix. It's called Terrace House. It's Japanese.
Okay, I've heard of it.
It's just like the most low stakes reality show that you could have. Just 6 people, 3 of each gender, so like very heteronormative, but whatever. They just live in a house together, and that's it. Like, romance is not necessarily encouraged, but it happens.
I'm sure.
The biggest incidents are things over like food. In the most recent season, there's a scene where these two girls who do not get along get into like a yelling match, but their voice never gets beyond this level. So they're just talking like this, but there's like some real hardcore like nu metal happening in the background. And the fun part of the show too is that like there's this panel of commentators. So they're like constantly on a roll of like talking about what's happening, like who do they think is good, who do they think is bad, like who are the people who are the villains on the show.
Is the language Japanese?
Yeah,
Subtitle
so
English?
yeah. So you gotta read subtitles.
That's
but
fine. I like it.
Get over it.
We just had.
I put subtitles. I think I saw a tweet from you actually that you were saying you put subtitles on everything.
Yeah, I do.
I
do
started
too.
that also.
I turned them on because I was watching anime, and
Yeah.
I watched it subbed, and it just you put when you on Netflix or Prime or whatever, when you turn subtitles on, it doesn't turn them off for any other show. It just keeps them on, so I just kept them on.
Speaking of anime, and I'll be done after this. We can move on to Emma. There are two shows in particular that Netflix has done that I think are like actually phenomenal. One is Agretsuko, which is based like Sanrio SpawnCon. So Retsuko is this like, so if you know Hello Kitty, like it's in that very same aesthetic.
Okay.
Retsuko is this red panda. She's an office, like a 25-year-old office worker. It's a 12-minute show, but so like she has all of these very frustrating experiences that happen to her. And on the outside, like in her office, she's just like dealing with it. Like I'm about to explode inside, and then she blows off all the steam by doing death metal karaoke.
After work.
Yes.
Like that.
Alone in a room, and then she like starts making friends, one of whom is a beautiful secretary bird. And then they
My favorite character.
Yeah, I love her.
Again with the
I'm
animals.
obsessed with her.
Yeah, and it's just like honestly, it's a very smart and like poignant examination of like what it's like to be this age right now in a corporate world, and also a woman, and like what that means for relationships and the pressures around that. In the second season specifically, it's mostly about that kind of thing. One that is just like straight up slapstick, and I think it's really, really funny, is called The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, and it's about this like pink-haired telekinetic high schooler who's just like, I hate everything sucks, like, and it's just like
Is there crime fighting?
Sorta. Well, no.
No.
There's like some
like that.
world-ending disaster stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
So it's obviously like very out there.
Yeah.
But in general, like I think it's very interesting that like as we're talking about Netflix expanding globally, they've also put a shit ton of money into developing like original anime series and acquiring anime series.
Yeah.
So in particular, last year it was a big deal when they got the licensing rights for Neon Genesis Evangelion and the couple of movies that are attached to it, because it was very hard to access beyond just like hard copies of DVDs and VHSs
Right.
before
or like illegal streams.
yes,
of
exactly.
episodes.
Yeah, torrents and shit like that. So when it came to Netflix, it almost felt like a Netflix original to some people, maybe, because they were discovering this new thing for the first time. They're like, holy shit.
Does it have that little end?
It
though?
does not. No.
Yeah. That's how you know.
Yeah, but that's
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That's all.
No,
very cool.
Those are great. Emma.
How do I follow that? I mean, let's see.
You
I do have a few, and I do have one that I think I saw on your list.
probably
that
did.
You skipped over. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Speaking of David Fincher
Yeah.
and all the stuff that he's doing for Netflix, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's really good.
So David Fincher and Tim Miller produced this thing called Love, Death, and Robots. That is this like animated anthology series. Every episode is like 3 to 5-10 minutes long.
Yeah.
They're very short.
Snackable,
and
some would
they're-
say. Yeah.
You
A
could
quick
call them
bite.
quick bites.
Dan, if you're not
Ooh.
watching the video version, that face Dan made was
Dan cringed.
very not.
He's
Like-
disgusted.
Yeah.
Too much Quibi talk.
Yeah.
But they're these they're like animated shorts essentially. And there's
Some
no
are live action.
Yeah, there are a
I'm
few
sorry
live
to
action
interject.
ones.
Huh.
But all of them have like or either elements of love, sex, death,
What's the third one?
and robots.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they could have like any combination of the 3 things, or like one thing or 2. Or I don't know. It's fine. But they are all, your mileage may vary. Like there are some that are better than others. There are some that are just sort of bad, and there are some that are really, 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 really good. That make watching through the whole thing worth it. Like if you're a animation fan, like it's all different styles of stuff. Like all different people worked on this stuff. And sort of in that same vein, genre-wise, Netflix had this show a few years ago called Sense8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Which was done by the Wachowski sisters, who did The Matrix, who did Cloud Atlas, who did Jupiter Ascending.
Don't forget Speed Racer.
Don't forget, we cannot forget Speed Racer. But it was a show that they it's a totally original idea. It seems like it isn't, but it is, and it's about this like group of people who are suddenly like connected in their minds, and they can like talk to each other, and they're in all like different parts of the world. It was like super, super expensive. It was one of Netflix's most expensive shows years ago, when they weren't really making much original content, because they were actually going on location to like India or like Germany and filming there. And it's this beautiful show about like human connection. And
is there crime fighting?
There's so much crime fighting.
See, there you go.
And yeah, it's so good. And like, characters like fall in love with each other, and like sometimes they get to like meet in person physically, and it's just like, it's so cool. It's kind of hard to explain. But
I think you did a good job.
I think I
have
did
a
a
grasp
good job
of it. I have a grasp if I want to watch it or not, and I think I kind of do.
You should.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 seasons, and then it was canceled, and then they came
Classic
back and
Netflix.
made. Yeah, I know.
Awesome. That's a lot of picks. I hope somebody was writing this down.
That should be like 900 hours of
That should set you for the rest of your life.
I hope you enjoyed this 12-hour podcast about TV shows.
That's what we do here. So that about does it. Dan, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
I'll be
Ranch guy?
It's at Enron fan. I am at Daniel V. Jackson on Twitter, and that's it.
Yeah. Leanne?
I am at LEANBUTK on Twitter, and I will not give my Instagram handle.
That's fine.
Just because it's too difficult.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, people can find it if you do enough snooping. I like your Cheer-inspired Twitter read-off.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emma?
It all comes back to Cheer.
Yeah.
It all does.
I'm also on Twitter at Stefansky. It's my last name with a letter changed because I just want to make everyone's lives difficult.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's also my other handles on other social media. So if you want to find me anywhere else.
Well, where can we find you?
Oh, me? At Wil Fulton on Twitter.
Cool.
And Instagram.
Ooh.
Also, I think we should talk about the Stream Mail if people want more Netflix recommendations.
Yeah.
Our entertainment team has a weekly email called the Stream Mail.
We have 2, in fact. There's Stream Mail.
Okay.
There's Stream Mail, which comes on Monday. Get all your hot weekend picks. What just came out? What's on Amazon? What's on HBO?
And
what do you gotta
Netflix.
watch? And Netflix, of course. And then on Friday afternoon, we have something called the Weekend Watch, which is just like, what are you gonna pull up this weekend?
Cool.
What's out there? What's in theaters? What's on Netflix? What's not?
Totally.
All kinds of stuff.
Go on the website, Thrillist.com, and you can find a way to subscribe. I think they built that in there.
You can figure it out.
You'll find it.
There are
Okay.
prompts and stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for coming on and talking about Netflix.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay. See you next week. Bye.